This is your getting started video. This video will show you how to cut apart your fabric so that you have one piece for each of the projects and how to thread your needle. The items that you're going to need to have on hand is the blue wool thread, your needle threader, the cross-stitch needle, some scissors, and a ruler or measuring tape, and of course, your fabric. We've sent you the fabric in one long piece, but you're going to cut it apart so that you have one piece for each of the three projects. Cutting it apart is pretty simple. What you're going to do is lay it out the long way like this, and you're going to put a ruler along the bottom, scooch this up, and you're going to take your scissors, and from the very left-hand side here, I'm going to come in 8 inches and just put a small snip in between two of the rows. What you'll start to notice about the fabric is that there are these small grids or squares that you can see woven into it. This is an 11 count Aida cloth. It is a type of cross stitch fabric that has 11 stitches per inch. So that's why it's called 11 count. Cross stitch fabric can also come in finer gauges or even like larger gauges. The smaller the gauge is, so if it was 15 or 20 stitches per inch, the more detailed that your work could look, but it also would take a lot longer to stitch. So from that first snip, I'm going to bring my ruler over and line it up right here, again at the beginning of 1 inch, and come another 8 inches and cut right here. And then the last piece that's left on the right is 6 inches, and I don't need to do anything to that. So I'm going to take my ruler out of the way and use my scissors to cut up the line like this and cut apart all the way to the top, all 3 pieces. Okay, so now your fabric has been cut apart and you should have 2 pieces that are 8 inches wide. This is for projects 2 and 3. So you'll set those aside somewhere safe. And then you have 1 piece that's 6 inches wide, and that's going to be for project 1. I'm going to show you now how to thread your needle. So you're going to take your blue yarn and unwind about 20 to 30 inches off the spool and cut it like that. And then you're going to grab your needle. So needles have a few parts that I'll tell you what they're called so that when I refer to them later, it makes sense. It's pretty self-explanatory, but this is the tip of the needle, the sharp point. This is the eye of the needle, the piece with the little hole, that's what the thread will go through. And the space in between is called the shaft of the needle. We've included in your kit a little handy tool, a needle threader. These are great for helping you quickly thread a needle. You take the metal wire and you pass it through the eye of your needle. And then you're going to grab the yarn and pass that through the metal wire. And then you can just tug it right through the needle like that. And you've threaded your needle. If you lose your needle threader, you can do this without one. You use your fingers to help you. Pinch the yarn between your thumb and forefinger and take the eye of your needle and just gently wiggle it down on top of the yarn until you catch it through, and then you just pinch it right through. So to help you have a longer piece of yarn so that you don't have to change your yarn as frequently when you're stitching, you're going to take some of the length and shorten it by bringing the end of your yarn about 1/3 to 2/3 of the way down the length of the yarn. As you stitch, you'll lose yarn pretty quickly, and when you get to the end here, you just lengthen it again by bringing your needle closer to the end of the yarn like that. And so that gives you some extra space to work with so that you don't have to change your yarn as frequently. But at the very beginning, it's helpful to have a lot of overlap so that you don't have to pull as much yarn through the fabric while you're working. Because we're using the slightly larger Aida cloth, the 11 point, just one knot won't catch as it comes through the back of this work. So I'm going to show you how to tie 2 knots. Bring the yarn tip about an inch or slightly more, maybe an inch and a half up from the end, and wrap it around the pad of your finger like that. And then bring the tail up and push it through that loop that you created and just gently tighten it up. And then you're going to do that again with the knot right there near the loop and push it through. And just tighten this knot a little bit slower, and you can adjust it up and down as you go so that the first knot is actually caught with the second knot. And that should give you a big enough knot that when you bring the yarn up through the fabric in one of these little holes, it catches. And that's it. You're ready to get stitching.